You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. We're thankful that you're here with us, and we're going to have a great show for you today. It is our Climate Change Friday, Climate Change Edition each and every Friday. We will do a creative spin on this particular Climate Friday edition of the show, and we'll be able to have that along with reviewing the main stories of the week with a special guest on. Co-host Zach Ireland will be with us momentarily. He is with us in the studio, but we'll introduce him momentarily to you. We are live on CKLU 96.7 FM every weekday morning between 7:30 and 8:30 a.m. We're also streaming at cklu.ca. Just click on the Radio Player Canada app and you can stream us. Take us with you anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. We're also streaming live in video format on facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow the channels and pages that we have. Mainly comment on the live, and you can continue the conversation afterwards as we live on demand on Facebook and YouTube. The comments continue on Facebook. That's the only platform where you can continue the conversation. We'll do our best to get your comments read for those listening on the radio and streaming, and also up on the screen for those watching live and on demand afterwards. So it's going to be a great show for you today. We're going to just kind of review what Zach's thoughts are on what's going on in the city lately. The city is an interesting place. We amalgamated many years ago. There's many outlying communities that feel that they're kind of overlooked. So that's been going on. There's Valet's property is being mowed by our city, and so there's no contract between them. So why is our city mowing the property in Levac? One of the business owners out there had a question about that. And then just most recently, the skate park in Levac, being told by the city to fundraise for yourself so you can have that park out there. We're not going to build that. We're busy building a new events center and arena downtown for $200 million. There's no need to build a skate park in Levac for you. No skate park for you, to quote some Seinfeld. No soup for you, that is. But anyways, we're going to have a great show for you today. Zach's here and we're ready to get started. So let's start off with a little bit of weather. We'll come back with a little ode to the past for a little sports update. We're going to be talking about the mascot of the Sudbury Cyclones, our new professional soccer team here in town. Welcome if you're from Sudbury, if you're from around the area in the region, welcome. And if you're from somewhere around the world, hopefully this show will have something that you can take away from it, either entertaining or learn something from today. We'll definitely have something for you, because we usually talk about things that not only affect our community, but affect everyone abroad. So we'll be back right after the weather. Stay tuned. It's going to be a great show after this. And Sudbury weather right now is brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca, soon to be brought to you by someone else coming June 1st. So that's just right around the corner. We have our first major sponsor for the show. They're going to be sponsoring the weather each and every day. So we're looking forward to that. Currently it is 6 degrees. It's partly cloudy. Today we can expect mainly cloudy, 40% chance of showers this morning, clearing afternoon, high of 18, and what everyone's waiting for, the UV index. It'll be 6 or high tonight, clearing, increased cloudiness around midnight, low of 8 tonight. Saturday, cloudy, a few showers beginning in the morning, ending in the afternoon, 40% chance of showers late in the afternoon, and the wind will be moderate or low, 20 kilometers per hour coming from the south. And the high will be 13. Now, the UV index tomorrow will be 3 or moderate. Okay, so tomorrow, showers, high of 13. Sunny, on Sunday, so everyone can enjoy that. Hopefully 24 degrees and sunny, that is. And then Monday, back to some showers, 60% chance of showers, 16 degrees. Same thing on Tuesday, 60% chance of showers with a high of 16 as well on Wednesday with only a 30% chance of showers. Mix of sun and cloud forecasted at this moment, 20 degrees on Thursday. That's your long range. Look at your satellite. Lots of clouds. Clouds everywhere. Anything can happen when there's that much activity and clouds going on all over Northern Ontario. That is your Sudbury weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with a little bit of a sports update for you. We're just going to talk about the Sudbury Cyclones a little bit. Sudbury's got a new professional soccer league. They've already been in action a few times. I think the last time I looked at the record, they were 1-1-1. Could have changed since then, but we're going to be talking about their mascot most today. The most important things about the soccer team today. We'll be back right after this. And Zach is in the studio. We're going to be talking sports, first of all, but I just wanted to recognize him and bring him on and welcome him back, basically. So, Zach, how are you doing today?
Just super. I can't lie. I am pretty nervous.
You're nervous?
Pretty nervous. I watched the show. I listened to the show. And being on it is surreal.
Well, you were part of the beginning of Sudbury News Talk, and you were on Sudbury Sports Talk before that, like
That's right.
years ago. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't for you giving me a kick in the butt and getting things started. Sudbury News Talk might still just be talked about. You know what? We're going to start this news podcast, you know?
Sure.
So I can't believe that you're nervous with all
nervous. It's just not something I do every day anymore. So, and I want it to be good. I don't consider this my like pet project anymore. So I feel a lot more weight to how it turns out.
You're a
it's
trained
someone
professional.
else's, baby now.
Yeah,
so.
you're a trained professional. You just be yourself and everything will go exactly. So before we kind of get into things, we want to talk about the mascot. We got a new soccer team, professional soccer team here in town, and it's pretty cool. But we when we first started the show, the Sudbury Five were kind of new. When we were doing Sudbury Sports Talk, that's when they announced that we're going to have a professional basketball team in town, and we had many conversations about that, and it was fine. But the name for us, we took issue with at first. We weren't fans of the name, the Sudbury Five. We kind of poked fun at that quite a bit. And then we kind of, it leaped into the mascot of the Sudbury Five. And we kind of had fun with that on one of the shows. And it was one of those times where we just kind of lost it because we were laughing and we couldn't control ourselves. But here we are. I just want to go back to show, us on this Sudbury News Talk when we first started. And I got the video queued up.
Do
here.
you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's us talking about we don't even know what the Sudbury Five's mascot. Right here. Sudbury Five mascot here. We don't know his name. I think he's Rocky. Again, I'm still not 100%.
Rock Monster.
Well, Rock Monster, okay.
Yeah.
Or we didn't know if it was a rock man or what. But this is, we were just talking about him. Anyway, so here you go. This is a little blast from the past. We're talking. First of all, we thought it should be a big nickel, like a actual, just a nickel mascot, and then he could be the coin toss at halftime and stuff, or at the beginning of the show, and he could do things. Anyways, so this is what we're talking about here, and then we'll just leave it at that and let everyone kind of see it for themselves.
No one asks us. But I thought the nickel, even now as you were saying the mascot,
Yeah.
I pictured a guy in a nickel costume.
Just a nickel. He could roll out onto the floor.
If he catches
too.
a draft of wind, he'll just flip right over. It's too strong, but
Yeah.
imagine how fun that would be. He spins, and
Yeah.
then whichever side he lands on, it's heads or tails.
Oh my goodness, that's exactly. If they ever have to do a coin toss,
Coin toss at the beginning of the
he
game.
just jumps
out.
out.
He says, "Me,
Yeah,
I can do it."
I'm the coin toss. Oh, and he can do the trampoline thing too. He just jumps on the trampoline to do the slam dunk. They do that.
Yeah, they love that.
And then he just kind of flips around on the floor.
We're getting a little distracted here, but
I really do think we we really enjoyed talking about the mascot then, and we equally enjoy about
4 years in the
talking about
making.
it now.
Yeah.
But I'm not the biggest fan of the current the mascot idea. You know, I don't think a lot of people get.
No, I had forgotten about it actually.
The Rock Man.
Yeah, something along those lines. It's not iconic, I would say.
No.
Like it's good and it's nice
Yeah.
to have a mascot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy that part of it. Kids, like I really like the wolf mascot, like the costume, and I think that's good.
Yeah. What do you like about the wolf mascot?
Well, it looks like a wolf, like that's what you would expect,
Does it look like a wolf?
like a cartoon,
Okay.
like kind of Wile E. Coyote
Yeah.
looking wolf, but he's it looks like the
I know,
wolf
yeah.
on the Sudbury Wolves
Yeah.
logo, like it matches up. But
And
with Rocky,
kids relate to the Wolves mascot
Yeah,
too, right? Like
yeah.
it just has this like you said, cartoony,
Sure.
warm fuzzy.
Sure.
You know, the Rock guy,
I don't,
a little
yeah,
creepy. There's a creepiness factor to the Rock guy. It just is. It's like we were okay.
I know what you mean, but it's so wrong. It's so wrong. We're going a little too far here. Oh man, I miss those days when we would speculate about these things. Oh, it's too funny.
Composure.
Yeah.
Composure? Wow.
Get it together, man.
I can't even believe
Oh man, I haven't laughed that hard in a long time.
it had to be on air too.
Yeah.
Usually-
Okay.
Again,
So that's good because I think we're reliving it here as we're going through the video again. So I apologize for that on some level. But at the same time, I just wanted to, that was one of the best times I ever had on the show.
Yeah, same.
It's just,
Same here.
yeah, it's just like, when you're in school and you're with, your best friend or whatever at the back of the class and you just start getting a case of the giggles and you just can't stop. That's exactly what I felt like on that show. And I was like, wow. But such good fun. Anyways, we had a good time. So equally, I guess, or whatever, like mascots are a thing for teams. And now that I'm crying, I got to get a tissue here for my eyes. But anyways, the Sudbury Cyclones are new sports team here in the city, soccer. They are a professional soccer team. They also have a mascot, and you had a chance to look at the mascot this morning.
I did.
Gave you a heads up on. So, what are your thoughts on this particular mascot that the Sudbury Cyclones have?
I think Sudbury sports mascots somehow managed to top themselves
Okay,
for bizarre choices. First of all, I thought I was having trouble finding it.
yeah. Let's look.
But
it
no,
up here.
it's one of those things where it's like, that's it.
Yeah. So I'm not able to.
Should I describe it or like,
No, I got them up on the screen here now, but again, it's full screen. So it's basically one of those Blue Man unitard things. It's the green one though, the green man unitard. What do they call those things?
it looks like a raincoat.
But then he's
Like a
wearing a
rain
rain suit over that
Oh, you're right. He's
Green
wearing like a I forget
unitard
what those
thing.
are called.
Yeah,
It's like your head is part of the suit.
yeah, exactly.
Morph suit.
So it's I don't know. I just I mean, it is what it is. It's a mascot. Someone has to come up with an idea. I'm not saying my idea could have been. I don't know. We never brainstormed this. This is the first time we're talking about this, right?
Yeah, I
But-
never thought about it.
Do you think that, because the mascot's going to have to be outside. So Sudbury Cyclones. So a cyclone is a storm. It's like a hurricane, basically. So, I mean, if he's out on a boat in a hurricane or a cyclone, you'd probably want to have a rain suit on. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair.
To keep you dry. Mm-hmm. And so I can see, it's not hard to see why someone would come up with that idea, but do you think he'd be hot out in the summer
Well,
sun?
that was my first thought.
like
This is comfort.
on the sidelines?
Good for a rainy game.
Do you think we should be worried about his overall health on hot days? Like
I guess he could take it off and go morph suit. He has like his green morph suit.
but if he takes it
It's
off,
not really a mascot anymore.
no, that's what I mean. He would just be a green man, and that has nothing to do with a cyclone, right? Like it'd be like
Right.
if the green man had also something to do with the cyclone, like if he was blue, let's say, he'd be rain. Like he could be the cyclone itself instead of a man in a cyclone, you know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like until you showed it to me, I hadn't put any thought into it whatsoever.
Exactly. Just wanted your first,
I like the soccer team. I'm not.
Yeah, great. And they do have a cool logo and cool colors too. I got to admit.
Yeah, it's
They're very cool.
Great, cool.
Yeah.
I'm just. I guess I don't have the right mind for coming up with mascots. It's like we thought of like the nickel idea as a mascot.
Yeah.
But it was more of like a gimmicky idea.
It was, yeah.
And this one is like, it's almost the other direction of being too conservative. Mm-hmm. Because
very serious almost.
you can't even
mascot.
really tell what it is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's a guy who's afraid to be, or whatever. He's suiting up to be in the cyclone. He wants to protect himself from the elements, kind of thing.
And
So I
you're
can see that.
Almost like afraid of. Maybe I'm over reading into this too much, but seems like overly afraid of criticism and being too conservative with your mascot.
Yeah.
Because it
could be.
There's nothing there.
Yeah. Kind of thing.
I just
right?
don't really see anything there.
Yeah, I know. It's just, it's hard. The whole mascot world.
I'm allowed
is-
to criticize the
You are.
mascot, I think.
You are. Still,
doesn't
I
mean
think,
I won't
yes.
support the team.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to be arrested at this moment in time. Maybe if it was a couple of years in the future, you never know. It could change.
Fair enough.
But
Every time I drive by the arena and see the giant run with the pack, the Sudbury Wolves,
Yeah.
I like it.
run with the pack for sure.
I think it's like the big insignia of the Wolves
yeah.
logo and that slogan. Like, I think that's great.
Yeah.
I don't understand why all the talent is being put into that and none into the other 5 sports teams.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think when you have to, you only have one organization, you may be a little
True.
spread thin, right?
They're all
Whatever.
connected, though.
And one's the big moneymaker or the big
Yes,
ticket
yeah, that's
item,
true.
right? And that is the Wolves. There's no doubt about it. But I've had an issue with the run with the pack thing since it's on ice. It's like
That doesn't
it's
really
a
make
hockey
sense.
team. You're running on ice. I'm not sure, but how do you come up with something else? A slogan where you're skating, you know what I mean? And you're a wolf. It's kind of it's a bit of a stretch. So
Skating is generally like a negative
yeah.
in like idioms and things.
Yeah, exactly. You're
Like
skating on
by.
thin ice.
Yeah, skating on thin ice.
Yeah.
Or just skating by.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
How do you make it positive? Exactly.
Running is good.
Got to leave these things to marketing professionals. Which,
exactly. It's not like I don't have the right mind for it, but when I saw the Cyclones, I wasn't a huge fan. But maybe it will be like the name of the Sudbury 5. It will grow on me.
Yeah, could be.
I doubt it.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see. Time will tell. But we'll be back with people's comments because there's a bunch of people joining us now. And news headlines, we'll get your take on the state of the city, basically, and we'll do a little deep dive into what we usually do on Fridays. I don't want to keep saying it because it looks like it gets into some kind of algorithm and then people don't like those words for some reason. But anyways, we'll be back right after this. All right, and we are indeed back, and we indeed have many people on this morning. So we just want to give a shout out to many of them on. May not be able to get 100% of comments today. We do usually take almost half the show just with people's comments, and a lot of people do appreciate that. And some people are like, get on with the news already. Come on already. What is this? But whatever. There's critics for everything, and we're also critics too of other people. So we don't mind being criticized. Nancy, good morning. Blessings to all. These are our YouTube people on. Good morning. Yes, good morning to you as well. And Bob is on. Bob Zanob. Do you know who that is at all? Have you ever heard of him, Zach?
No, but everyone's a potential friend.
That's
so.
right. Between the rock monster and this new mascot, I believe that someone needs to be fired. I'm truly embarrassed. Okay. Well, that takes it to a whole other level.
I mean, being fired seems harsh, but I've heard of people being fired in that organization for much less.
Oh, I have too as well. Yeah. So Judy, good morning on Facebook. Thanks for being with us, along with Monique. Good morning, Sudbury, with a smiley emoji. Liette, good morning from Collingwood, and Belinda, good morning. Usually has a positive statement of the day, or at least a reflective statement. Butterflies rest when it rains because it damages their wings. It's okay to rest during the storms of life. You will always fly again. Love it. And it's in with our theme of cyclones. It's so right on theme. Love it. Miles, good morning. Lovely weather. We need rain. Already in a fire ban. I was wondering when that was going to happen. You know, we had all that rain in the spring, and I thought, you know what? We're going to get a couple nice days, and there's going to be a fire ban right away. So
Interesting.
We're already in a fire ban. I can't believe it. Anyways, it is what it is. I would expected it, and I would expect no less than that. So, David, good morning. Take care. Stay safe. Hope you're having a good morning, along with Vin. Morning to you as well. Good morning, Zach. And don't be nervous. You're among friends.
Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel.
And you are, and that is true. So thanks for that. Much appreciated, Belinda. And Marianne, good morning. Everyone from Barrie, liked and shared as usual. And Brian says, hey, Zach, long time no see. Good morning, Patriots. Brian Poulet. And Denise, blessings from Espanola, shared to all groups. Appreciated. And it looks like, yeah, we're having fun this morning for sure. Hopefully we'll be able to keep our composure. That's one of the things you have to do. We're working at. Brian also says, I got to be honest, though, the Sudbury Cyclone mascot has got to be the funniest thing I've ever seen. What the heck is that anyways? Okay. All right.
Got to give it to them.
Yeah, for sure. This is how people feel. I guess this is how we, you just put a poll out there. What do people think about the mascot? Belinda says, having a good laugh with good friends is the best. And I agree.
True.
For sure.
You know what? Can I just make a comment on the comments?
Can, yes.
Yesterday's show,
Yeah.
Belinda's positive message
Yeah.
that took you,
A
like
while.
she had to come back and clarify.
Yep.
I got a great laugh out of that.
You did. Yeah. Well,
So sometimes it's even better
yeah. When I can't
it's like
understand
not clear.
it. Yeah.
I understood right away.
Oh, okay.
Even though there was a typo.
Yeah.
I remember you reading it and I'm driving and listening and I go, I just wish she would just pick up on this. And you just never did. And then later she came back and clarified. And I just had it was really fun. It's kind of like knowing something that it's like situational irony.
For sure. Yeah.
Is like very funny to me.
And I do that a lot of times with other people's things. It's almost like when I read someone else's paper, I can pick out the mistakes right away. There should have been there's a spelling mistake or there's some grammatical error. I could see it no problem with other people's work. And the same is when I'm listening to radio.
Yes.
There's a lot of mistakes that people make on the radio all the time. And it's okay. Before I used to be really critical about it, but now I'm like, yep, I know how that is. It's like Q92 the other day, or 96.7, whatever, 92.7, whatever they call themselves, rock. They, it was an April Wine song, and they put, it was I Like to Rock by April Wine, and they put Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones in there, and they also have Day Tripper from the Beatles. But the DJ comes on afterwards and go, oh yeah, you gotta love how the Canadian rockers, they paid homage to the Rolling Stones by putting Satisfaction, and then they put Paperback Writer in there too. And I'm like, no, that was Day Tripper. That wasn't Paperback Writer. So right away, I would have been really critical of that before, going, how does this guy, he's a rock guy. How does he not know that that's Day Tripper, not Paperback Writer, But now I go back and sometimes watch some of these shows and I'm like, what? how did I not catch myself with that? I said something that was totally wrong, and I just go on, you know what I mean, not realizing. But it isn't easy. It isn't easy to read and decipher some comments and then be on the ball and also speak for about an hour time every morning.
Yep.
And so I gain a lot of what you might call it. Like I can give a lot of slack for people who are doing this and not be as critical anymore. So even though I'm a pretty critical person, it's good to know it of yourself too. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about when you're driving. Hopefully I'm not too frustrating.
You know what? I love those, a few stations have it, the like trivia shows.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I'm not a trivia guy. I'm just not a skill that I have, but I still find myself being like, how do you not know that?
Oh yeah,
To
for
some
sure.
of these people on the shows.
Yeah.
Even though I'm one of the worst like trivia people.
Yeah.
If I do know it, I immediately feel superior to the person that's like competing on the show.
For sure, yeah.
Even though I'm sure if I called in, I would go 0 for 5.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And then they would ask questions that you didn't know that other
Exactly.
people are going, why? How doesn't he not know these?
And I would be the complete brunt of that joke,
Exactly.
not knowing any of them.
Denise, good morning, everyone. All have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe and healthy. Same to you, Denise. Marianne says he's wearing a Leo, meaning leotard.
That's the new mascot. Yeah. Is it? I mean, it could be.
Yeah, well,
Looks like a morph suit.
it's a morph suit. That's what I was
Morph
looking
suit?
for. Yeah, that's what it was. A unitard. Anyway, so it's called a morph suit. That's the correct name for it.
Unitard. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
But it is. It's a morph suit, and but if it's a Leo, it'd be a leotard. Anyways, okay. So that's a good joke, Marianne. Some of the mascots in sports are pretty strange, and it is true. There are
It
some
is.
strange ones. There's some really good ones though. I like the Philadelphia Flyers mascot. He's just a big. He looks like he could have been on Sesame Street, and he's just a big, huggable, lovable, kind of very relatable, funny mascot. Anyways, Belinda also says, okay, so talking to. Sometimes people are having conversations with
Of
each other
course,
too,
yeah,
and I
that
can't realize it.
happens. The comments section is it's a wild west.
It's a wild west, but we tackle it every day. Talk about Wolves revenue and city agreement with revenues. Board adds in all 14 arenas, concessions at the Sudbury Arena, and bus ads and bus stop ads. Wolves revenues were rumored made significant. They were rumored to be made that were they were significant revenues from the Wolves altogether. Because yeah, they do get the revenue from bus ads. You know, all the arena, inside the arena, all the city advertisement on park benches and stuff all go to the same organization. Good morning, Pat. Thanks for being with us. And Marianne says, was talking to my brother-in-law who works in forestry, said the reason the fires happen is because the roots are so dry underneath the ground, especially if there was a fire in the area already. It's burning underneath, all because they are not watering underneath properly, which makes sense, although we know that fires are also being set. Okay, now that's the last comment we have so far, and we will be talking about this a little later in the show, so thanks for that. Much appreciated on some of the ways that we look at our current conditions. Could be temperatures, could be, the bans that we're facing due to the way that the management of forests, that's a thing. I think the way we manage our forests could be some reason why we have to take precaution in this time of year. But let's start with the city, and we'll get Zach's kind of take on it. So state of the city, recently there's been a lot of things going on. We just announced a new $100 million library that's been brought down to about $70 million. They're going to put it in Tom Davies Square now. And we're basically tearing down buildings downtown, getting ready for a new arena event center, which council unanimously decided we're going to go ahead with, which will cost around $200 million. Some people are saying that's a low estimate. It's going to be about $260 million. What are your thoughts on these big legacy projects for the city?
As with anything, the cost has to be justified by the benefit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a top priority right now for budgeteers, is matching the value received with the cost. That's my number one concern, because obviously I'm not against spending money if you get equal or greater value from that. It's if it's for instance, you really need something, you're willing to pay a little bit more than you otherwise would for the convenience and to have it right now. That's what convenience stores are all about. You pay a little bit more than you would, but it's more convenient. So I'm not against paying more if there's value. Same with the library. Everyone knows, you go to the library, you can check out items for free as long as they're returned on time.
Yeah.
So that would be like a value that you would get attending the library. Same with, I guess now you can rent like Blu-rays and DVDs. Rent, not a good word. You get them from the library.
Yep.
So that's like a value. So I guess what you'd have to do is add up all the value that individuals would get from using the library and see if it's offset by the increased burden that would put on them. Like if it's offset. I think in economics, there's like public goods. A public good is something that benefits everybody, and you can't necessarily attribute the benefit to one person because it's kind of a general thing. It's like everyone benefits from it. So a library is generally thought of as that. But again, it can't be that hard to do a study in advance of spending that much money, a study looking at how many people would benefit from it.
Yeah. Now, the city is famous for our studies. We spend a lot of money on consultants.
Sure.
And studies, a lot of them don't go very far, but we've gone from $40 million in debt 4 years ago, and we're projected to be over $600 million in debt with high interest rates, because the interest rates are up really high now. So this is really a huge deal for the city. So that's one thing. I was told also, we were told by the city's mayor, Paula Five, that the new library will attract tourism. It will attract tourists from all over Ontario to come for our library. What do you think about that?
It's possible, but again,
you think so?
Says who?
You think people are going to come from
just
far and
because
wide
he says it doesn't mean
library?
it's true. That's kind of my point. I think you have to prove. You have to prove something's possible and prove it in advance, usually. All right, let me relate it to like a business. Imagine I had like a great pizza business idea, but it was going to cost $70 million. Maybe you should try it out before you spend the money.
True.
Do you need to spend the money in advance of getting it is kind of my point. We have libraries now. What's their results on the libraries we do have? I know they're great. My family uses them.
Yeah.
My family uses the library.
Yeah.
Maybe dollars and cents would make it more real. If I saw how much it costs, per household for the current libraries we have versus the cost per household for a new library.
Now, what do you think is going to happen to all of our libraries once they build the
Well,
huge
if it's
one
anything
downtown?
like the elementary schools, the way that that's working right now, they're going to be closing the smaller ones, kind of consolidating. Because I think enrollment in elementary schools is going down. It's definitely down from a peak at some point, which means that they want to save on budget. But they don't save on budget. This is the whole point. Because they build a brand new school instead of using the one that they already have,
Exactly.
So it's never really the savings that are promised never really happen. This is my problem with a new library is they say well, we're already running 4 libraries, so it'd be great if we just had one. But it's the upfront cost, you'll never recoup that savings because you're spending so much upfront.
And libraries aren't money makers to begin with. They don't
no,
make
but
money,
the value, right?
Exactly.
You can calculate
for sure.
the value.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, I don't feel a library is going to bring people from out of town. So why do they say things that are just not true? That's just one little pet
Right.
peeve I have. But you know what does draw people from all over Northern Ontario, but people don't really recognize that they're bringing in tourists into Sudbury, but it's not a tourist attraction one bit, but it brings many people from all over Northern Ontario.
Costco.
Exactly.
Is that actually what you were thinking?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
No way. I got it.
Costco.
Yeah,
If
no
you
one
t-
paid for Costco to open.
No one paid for Costco
Right.
to open, and it does bring now hotels. You know how many people I talk to around Northern Ontario? They go, "Yeah, we're planning a trip to Sudbury, and guess where they're going to be going? Costco." They all have a membership
destination.
card. That's right, and they'll get a hotel. They have to eat at restaurants while they're here, or go to grocery stores here and get food for their kids. They do other things while they're here, while they go to Costco, or they're here for a hockey tournament. Guess where they go while they're here for the hockey tournament? They go to Costco. So no matter what, that's a bigger tourist attraction than a library, in my point of view, and it didn't cost us anything. And why don't we recognize things like that? And then go along with, okay, since we do know that Costco is bringing a lot of people to Sudbury, why don't we then plan things that go along with that things we
Right.
already know, not
Right.
things we're making up in our minds, like that don't have anything or correlate at all with, while we're in town going to Costco, do you want to check out that new library they got downtown?
Well, yeah.
They're not
The
saying-
library is inherently local.
Yeah, exactly. Usually
Right.
every town's got one. Like, why would you want to go to Sudbury's library if you got a library? It's usually out of, like you said, convenience. You're going to go because there's a utility value to it to go, like
Yep.
there's something, I need to use a computer, or I need to, whatever it is that they offer, you need to use, right? So, so anyways, we're doing these things no matter what with our city. Also,
Usually the money's like obscured. That's kind of my whole point. Is usually the actual cost is not upfront and talked about.
no,
Like with us, like we both went through higher education. You a little bit more than me, but the cost of higher education is actually really obscured, and that's why I think a lot of families are okay with doing it and sending their kids, because you pay a tuition, but that's not the cost. The cost is actually a lot more than the tuition, but you don't see that part of it. So
and what do you mean by that?
like Laurentian gets most of its funding, more than 50%, not from tuition. So that's from other, like mainly government sources. And if you add up all the costs of these things, it makes you start to wonder, like, why does it cost so much?
Yeah, what is its worth? Like, are you
know?
getting back as much as, because it's
Are we
your
getting
tax dollars too, right?
$20,000 a semester of value
Yeah.
from our education? Like that, when you look at the full cost, not just the explicit cost.
Yeah.
And then
So there's a cost to the student, and that's an OSAP loan or whatever your tuition is.
that's
and
the part
books.
we see.
That's
But
right.
there's a lot more to it.
That's right.
That we're paying for.
Exactly,
But we
through
don't
taxes.
explicitly know that.
Exactly.
We're paying. That's how I feel about the library. Is you know,
What's the overall
maybe you'll pay
cost?
$3 for parking,
Yeah.
but you're actually paying hundreds of dollars a year through other
Yes.
they have to get funded.
Yep.
They have to get funded. Like very, very little of these institutions are charity based. It's mostly like tax levies.
Exactly.
And the mayor has, so far, he's been really, maybe it's not his fault, but since Lefebvre came in, it seems like he's very slow to levy new taxes to pay for expenditure. He's more, obviously the city has good credit, so he's more likely to take on, increased debt rather than increase the tax levies, because if people see the costs, maybe they
Yeah.
wouldn't be as happy about.
And that's one of the stories in Sudbury.com this morning in their Stories to Start Your Day segment that they have. Council cuts development charges, and the cost of that will be $5.1 million to $7.2 million. This is another thing I have with financial forecasting and things. Like, that's a pretty big gap that we don't know how much the cost is going to be. $2 million to me is a
Big
lot of
gap.
money.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get it closer than that. Anyways, if they were dealing with things like this, with things that are like, oh, it's between $100 million and $200 million. We're not sure. It's in there somewhere.
Right.
Are there better methods to figure these things out? But anyways, I digress. Last week's council decision to issue a 3-year moratorium on certain development charges and freeze others is projected to cost the city $5.1 million to $7.2 million in lost revenue.
Yeah, so that's money.
So that's what you're talking about,
That's
right?
not money that they're spending. It's money they're not making.
They're not making because they're choosing not to
charge development fees.
development fees, which I already
I
thought
don't
they
agree
were
with development fees.
they were too much to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so good on that.
But that's the framing, right?
Yes.
Framing is
We're gonna
different.
lose money.
They go, oh, look at how much we're like contributing to development, but it's like just not like levying a tax is not a stimulus. It's like tax cuts being considered like a stimulus. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you were explaining the idea of debt versus credit societies.
Yeah, I don't want to go too much into it, but
Okay.
I've been reading a lot of old books, so like I'm
Which
a
the
big
way the
book guy,
economy
so-
the economy is evolving, right? The way we
we
used to be on the gold standard, it changed to
Right.
an oil standard, and now it's kind of going a digital kind of way. That's one side of the economics. Now there's a whole other side of it as well, where it's evolving, and we're more into a debt, just we're kind of a debt society, and I think we're reaching the end of that phase of things because don't think we can go much further with that model. Am I wrong on that?
You could
or-
be wrong. I don't know for sure. Like what it seems, again, I don't want to go too much into it. It's going to take the rest of the show.
No, yeah,
but,
that's true. Because you have to create the foundation for people to understand what you're talking
Well,
about. So you got to go back and explain it for sure. Yeah.
like anyone who's taken foundational economics would understand how money's created. It's through debt.
Yeah.
That's the way money's created. It's not printed. It's created through debt. So, and money's destroyed through taxation. That's the way that the money is destroyed. It's probably going to take too long to explain why
That's
that
fine.
is,
I think
but
we're
that's
good
the
with
way
that.
our system works. So, like when you get a mortgage,
Yeah.
no one has to pay for the house
Yeah.
up front. They're paying for, like, just like you are lending or borrowing the money, someone is lending the money for you to get the house.
Yeah.
There's no like end of the line where someone's paying for it. It's fractional reserve.
Yeah.
Meaning that no one really ever pays for things. It's all lent from, even the money that we have is lent from the Bank of Canada.
Which is
Bank
also
of Canada doesn't have money to give away. They just issue debt.
Yeah.
And then the government will take in that. Eventually that money will come back through tax revenue.
Which
and
is
that's
heavily-
when it's destroyed.
Yeah, and that's
So-
heavily tied to international banking, so it's not even really Canadian. We used to do our own money in 1971 or 72. It changed to the international monetary system kind of thing, so
Yep.
we
Global
don't do our own.
adjustments,
So
yeah.
we're in debt to some conglomeration that isn't Canadian anyway, so that's another whole thing right there. And good morning, Chris, and good morning, Diane. Hopefully you guys are doing well this morning. And anyways, so also going on in the city, it's pretty juicy with city council. Ed Archer kind of came out and gave himself and a lot of ununionized management a raise. And then until people found out about it, and it was a big stink. And so now, councillors are saying we didn't really agree with that, even though we gave Ed Archer the power to do it. We didn't think he was going to give himself and other ununionized employees that much of a raise. And now Sudbury.com is coming back and said there's leaked documents that said, councillors should have known that he was going to get that raise. And so what are you guys saying? And now there's this big thing between the media and a few of the councillors anyways. It looks like Mike Parent and Natalie Labby mainly in the crosshairs there. And Mike backs up Natalie's statement. You can easily go on. We're going to have her on the show on Monday to speak for herself and to kind of catch us up. I'm going to look into the details of this a little bit more through the weekend, so I'm ready for the interview on Monday. So it's great. We're going to hear from the horse's mouth, and so we're looking forward to that. So that's going on, and now Natalie Labby has a stalker that basically they had to go and arrest because he's coming to her house.
Oh, geez.
And so this is a big, huge thing that's going on in the city and with our councillors. And so that's what to look forward to on Monday. But to get to our little bit of a deep dive today, do you know the journalist John Stossel at all?
Yes, yeah, John Stott, libertarian.
I love John Stossel. I like his.
You would like John.
I like the
Stossel.
way he approaches news. I love. He's a little bit of humor, a little
quippy,
light,
yeah.
but yet he takes on big subjects in a lighthearted way, and he's able to just ask questions and not be too over whatever. So he's talking about the state, a little bit of where we're at in our world, and this is our Fridays. We usually like to talk about a certain thing,
right?
And we'll just get your take on it anyway. So we'll kind of finish off the show with this particular story from John Stossel and the state of our world and why we are like the way we are.
Have you heard about that other environmental crisis? Honeybees are dying.
Something is killing America's bee population.
For years, the media have talked about
Bee-pocalypse.
Bees dying off, disappearing.
all the news shows covered the disaster.
This might be one of the most interesting, disturbing, and puzzling stories to come along in a long time.
Famous actors are sold to the bee-pocalypse.
30% of the honeybees disappearing.
That could have a devastating impact on agriculture.
But wait, grocery stores still offer lots of food. Baseball games are stopped until a beekeeper removes bees. Even here in Manhattan, a beekeeper sells millions of bees. Yet the media say
bees are dying in droves.
Now, about 20 years ago, some American bees did die.
It's called colony collapse disorder.
Beekeepers would come back to their hives and they'd be gone. All the bees would be gone.
For several years, beekeepers lost lots of bees.
So this is what you call a dead hive?
Yep, empty box. No bees.
But beekeepers adjusted. They rebuilt the lost colonies by splitting hives.
Dividing colonies to make up new hives?
No one knows what caused colony collapse disorder, and after a few years, it diminished. Since then, there are 31% more bees in America. They could have just Googled bee population and they would have seen them going up.
Absolutely. It's farcical.
Science writer John Entine runs the Genetic Literacy Project. It challenges scientific misinformation in the media.
We're not in any way facing an apocalypse involving bees. Things have never been better in terms of the numbers of bees globally.
The numbers go up, but their dying stories continued.
Bees are disappearing worldwide.
All you have to do is read the basic science on these issues, whether it's on the genetic literacy.
Nobody reads that.
They don't read that.
Look, more people are going to watch the video that says, you might starve.
Do you like to eat? The disappearance of honeybees could have a drastic effect on our nation's food supply,
which could lead to millions of people starving in the following years.
The media are so irresponsible. Time predicted a world without bees, even though this beekeeper who gave the magazine this bee for their photo shoot would have told them.
The bees will outlast you. They've been around since the Cretaceous period.
I don't remember seeing Time apologize for its cover.
Time has not apologized or even written a new article that puts this in science perspective. The New York Times, about 5 years later, had a cover story about the insect Armageddon, predicting catastrophe. We're losing insects around the world. We're not losing insects around the world.
Did the Times ever apologize for its magazine cover?
No, they skipped on to another crisis.
There's always a scare.
Catastrophe, exaggeration, that's what plays, that's what gets the clicks.
And if you read their entire stories,
they don't really have a lot of science. They don't have key scientists, entomologists, giving their opinions on this. What they have are the Environmental Working Group or Pesticide Action Network framing these issues.
They're disappearing. That's why Greenpeace set itself a challenge to put a stop to the deaths of thousands of bees.
Activists make money by scaring people about loss of species.
If we don't act now, every wild polar bear could be gone forever.
Hysteria generates donations, and the oxygen for these organizations is money donated by people who think they're doing good.
Why is it so important to donate to this fundraiser for Greenpeace? Because it's too hot, because it's too cold, because it rains, because it doesn't.
Many of these environmental groups, their policies harm people in the United States and globally.
How? Well, one way is that the groups demand countries ban fertilizers and new pesticides. But the newest chemicals are often the best ones.
today's pesticides are safer than ever.
The activists blame pesticides for that colony collapse disorder, even though other countries using the same pesticides had no colony collapse. But the facts don't matter. The moronic protests continued.
The government isn't doing enough to save the bee on all causes of bee decline, but particularly pesticides.
Even though bee numbers are at a record high, gullible politicians bought the scare, and some places banned the newest pesticides.
The European Union voted to suspend the use of neonicotinoids because of possible links to bee collapse.
That meant farmers often used older, more dangerous chemicals that do kill bees. The natural food people say, organic, you just don't have to have the chemicals. Buy organic and you don't get them.
They use chemicals extensively.
Wait, organic farmers use chemicals? Yes.
It's not like organic farmers can sprinkle organic fairy dust to get rid of insects and weeds.
Instead, they use natural chemicals.
An example is copper sulfate. It's one of the most toxic chemicals in the world. Organic chemicals, because they're not designed to be targeted, in many cases are far worse.
Sri Lanka's president listened to the activists and banned chemical pesticides and fertilizers. Suddenly, the same farms produced much less food.
They were forced to go organic overnight, and their production has plummeted.
Food prices rose 80%. People invaded the presidential mansion. The president fled the country, and the new government ended the crisis only by making chemical fertilizer legal again.
This attack on industrial chemicals is really a way for the environmental industry, and that's what it is, to go after what they call big ag, big corporations. It's really an anti-capitalist movement.
Hey, no hope. GMOs.
The anti-capitalists oppose GMOs, genetically modified organisms. Environmental activists persuaded most European countries to basically ban growing GMO crops. But genetic modification allows farmers to grow more food on less land. It creates plants more resistant to disease and insects, allowing farmers to use fewer pesticides. GMOs benefit everyone, especially poor people. Scientists in Bangladesh invented a better GMO eggplant.
That's decreased the use of chemicals by 85%, allowing the women and children who are doing most of the farming to live a much more viable life. So we really have to be smart about these things. We're not going to
We're not being smart, though.
No, we're following an outdated 40-year-old environmental script that just doesn't work in this technologically innovative world. They are outdated, and they are hurting the very people, especially the developing world, that they claim to want to help.
The anti-capitalists do hurt people.
You can tell he's a libertarian, obviously. So again, I didn't agree with everything said in there because some things are a little more complex and complicated, but I do like his overall approach to a story. Very telling there. Were anything you took away from that at all?
It took away a lot. Yeah, like you, I probably don't agree with everything in there. Like I don't necessarily. I think this works a lot better in the United States. But if you say anti-capitalist, instantly people are like, "Well, I'm pro-capitalist, so I'm not." So I don't think that's like an instant win to an argument.
Well, I am anti-crony capitalist. Like I don't agree with crony capitalism at all. I agree with a real a free market where there's fair rules for everybody and everyone's able to play, according to the same rules for everybody, and it really does benefit the whole that way.
Yep.
But we've had government's got involved and made the current capitalism we now see crony capitalism because they make certain laws and restrictions and policies and regulations that skew the landscape of capitalism and don't make it as fair. And then people point the finger at it and go, look how wrong that is, which it is wrong, but what are you going to have in place of it, right? Now, in terms of activism, like you can see where the media's gone now, hysteria really does. It's something that we've been in, I remember back in the day, this was kind of normal news, but nowadays this is like alternative news or whatever. Like people are like hearing things like this for the first time going, what are you telling me the bees aren't dying?
Yeah, they've never heard that.
The news never kind of updated them on the whole thing. They just left it at the bees are dying and that's it. They didn't hear anything.
Same with the polar bears, yeah.
And the polar bears and the ice. Did you know there's more ice now up in the Arctic than it's actually coming back again?
Yeah, I don't think once you've
cyclical.
heard an opinion, it's hard to go against.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And the media is really at fault in many ways. They are at fault for this. They talk about misinformation a lot, but you can just see again, and I like when people like this point out, how the media has done this over years, and they don't apologize when they make these kinds of claims and whatever, and they don't go back and set the record straight. They're just on to the next thing, and there's no accountability for them. And the public are the people that pay the price for that because they don't have the up-to-date information.
Well, I'll just say this is maybe my last point that's not that interesting, but like we used to, on both old shows, we used to talk about how we did not like state-funded media very much.
Yeah, I'm still with you.
We didn't like the idea of, like, we were volunteers back then, and we didn't like the idea that someone would get paid basically to do what we were doing for free.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to wonder if, well, it's an interesting intellectual exercise to think, is for-profit media or state-funded better? And I think you have to say, for some reason, that the free market media just happens to be more accurate and covers more salient topics. For some reason.
Because they're accountable. They're accountable to their viewers. I think that's, and their listeners. That's why. Yes,
the natural kind of inclination for me would be, well, if they don't have profit incentive, they'll cover. But that's just not really the case. And with a few exceptions, I would say pharma is probably a big exception. Free market media is usually pretty good because there's just so many of them. You can just choose the ones you could just leave.
Because your viewers won't stay with you if you're feeding them garbage all the time.
Maybe that's a big mechanism for accuracy.
Yeah. Exactly. And I've always thought there needs to be at least, another alternative to CBC, the communist, whatever it's called, Canadian Broadcast Communications, whatever it is.
Yep.
Corporation. So, I just think there needs to be an alternative because when you're in your car, you're kind of like, unless you have satellite radio, you're prisoner to that station. And I hear so much on there that's just needs to be, like, I wish I could jump in every once in a while and say, oh yeah, well, there's also another point of view here and just kind of, but no, you can't. You just got to take it and just listen to it. It is what it is, and it's your tax dollars.
You have to be exposed to the ideas, like you were saying about the bees.
Yeah.
You have to be exposed to the alternate ideas first.
Yes.
And it's tough because if you're exposed in the wrong way, sometimes it inoculates you against ever changing your mind.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like the danger of, like we were talking about. If you just say, well, I'm a capitalist, so I'm against that.
Yeah.
It's like, because you've heard similar points before, you just won't listen.
Yeah. No.
You have to.
You got to get the whole story.
Be changing your mind.
That's right. You're evolving and you're learning and you're trying to understand things and make sense of stuff. And that's what I really appreciate his approach. It's almost like he's learning it as you're learning it and you're getting facts. And he can come out in another video and say, I had a video of this and apparently I was wrong. And I see him doing that.
Respect. Yeah.
Exactly. I totally see him doing that. To be an authentic, integral journalist is what he is. And I don't see that in mainstream, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah. But I do see that in you, Zach. I see that you're very...
I change my mind all the time.
You're always changing your mind.
I don't want to, but the facts force you to.
That's right. Facts. Take it into consideration. The fact is, we're out of time, unfortunately.
I don't accept that fact.
Well, no matter what, it's going to happen regardless if we accept it or not. But thanks, everyone, for being on today and commenting. We really appreciate coming along for the ride this Friday. And usually we have a good, strong bunch of people that are on each and every day that are with us, and we appreciate you. So if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have a show because we're here to serve you, and you make this show what it is. We appreciate that aspect. We appreciate CKLU, Sudbury's only campus community radio station, operates on volunteers and your support. And we also appreciate the platforms we're on. So thanks, Zach, for being here today. Speaking
Anytime.
of appreciation. And we'll be back same time, same place Monday with Councillor Labby. She'll be on to talk about all the latest, what's going on. It's going to be a pretty interesting show. So stay tuned now for Earshot Daily, everyone, and have a wonderful, fantabulous weekend. Stay safe. Take care. Make sure to like and share. And we'll be back same time, same place. Earshot Daily is coming up after this. Ciao. Bye, everyone.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.